Well, here we are once again.
We are.
How are you, Damo?
It's been a long week.
It's been a long week and it is only actually a Wednesday. So here we are recording.
But
Late
I
afternoon.
enjoy recording. So
Yes, late afternoon. Work first, then record. It's always fun, but we do love chatting with you guys.
Welcome to Coffee Chats.
Yes, so welcome. We do have our coffees right here in our somewhat hot little hands. It's been stinking hot in Geelong.
It has. I've discovered the joys of cold brew.
Yes, me too. But I don't know, it just felt like we needed to have a coffee to have a coffee chat.
Agreed.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about gastric bypass. We are well aware that that there are so many questions that are asked all the time about all of the different surgery types. Damo had sleeve, I had gastric bypass, and yeah.
Do you think some of the confusion comes because there's so many different names?
There are. There's like so many different things that all of these different bariatric metabolic procedures are called. We have the one anastomosis bypass. We have the Roux-en-Y or the full gastric bypass or the gastric bypass, or we have the sleeve or the sleeve gastrectomy or the VSG or the ABC or the 1, 2, 3. And basically, today we're just going to talk about the good old-fashioned gastric bypass, Roux-en-Y, R&Y, the original one that's been around for donkey's years.
Since the 50s.
I don't know if it was in its current form back then, but yeah, it's been around for a long time.
Isn't it funny because so often there's so many comments about, oh, you know, you're having this procedure, and oh, I know someone who it didn't work for.
I know someone who it didn't work for. Oh, that's very extreme. Well, I needed a very extreme intervention because my weight was an extreme problem in my life, and I deliberately and intentionally chose the surgery that had been around for a long time. My very first bariatric metabolic procedure was a lap band, and I chose that because I thought that that was going to fix me, cure me, it was going to be wonderful and great, and it was none of those things. It was a shit show and a really bad time. So for me, I wanted something that had been around for a long time. I wanted something that I knew was going to do the job. Well, I felt it was going to. My surgeon also recommended that for me because I'd had a prior lap band and because I had reflux, which I still have. But that's a whole other story. So 3 things that I wish people knew before they had gastric bypass. So Damo, I've written them down for you. You can read the title of them if you would like.
So it's not just about weight loss. It's a whole lifestyle change. That is something that we have been on a soapbox about for such a long time because you can be living in a bigger body and you can be healthy. And, you know, I love that now we've got the new guidelines that are sort of coming out about clinical obesity and all that.
For me, I was not healthy. I was not in a healthy bigger body. My bigger body was starting to show the signs that it had been that size and increasing in size over a period of 2 decades. And I was starting to get some of the comorbidities that go along with being the size that I was, and or that can go hand in hand with the progression of the disease of obesity. That's what was happening for me. So what I didn't really fully comprehend is that it was not just about the weight loss. It was going to be about a whole lifestyle change. If we just go into any type of bariatric metabolic procedure thinking that the procedure is going to do everything, then we're probably going to end up being quite disappointed.
Yeah.
And that's just being really honest, really upfront. Across the board, the research shows, like you can go to the BSR, which is the Bariatric Surgery Registry here in Australia and New Zealand, and you can look at the statistics for yourself. About 80% roughly of bariatric procedures get reported to the registry, which is overseen by Monash University. And you'll see that really over a longer period of time, there's not that much of a difference between all of the different surgeries. So
yeah, it's
really,
only a couple of percent.
Yeah, it is. It's really just, it's a few percent. So with that in mind, I think if we go into bariatric metabolic surgery with the understanding that it's not just about the procedure, well, obviously we want it to be done well and safely. We need to have that understanding that there's going to be lifestyle things probably that we're going to have to change. And that was a huge thing for me.
Yeah, which leads us to point number 2. Yep. The side effects can be unexpected and permanent.
So one of the awesome side effects of metabolic bariatric surgery is a reduction in weight. That is a brilliant and wonderful side effect. And I have been the happy recipient of that.
Yeah.
I have also been the recipient of chronic reflux. I've been the recipient of reactive hypoglycemia. I've been the recipient of a number of other different things that perhaps are not quite so wonderful in terms of side effects. But I think it's really important that we do talk about them and we know what they are. Of course, it's not all doom and gloom. We're not about frightening anybody, but we really do need to know and understand what we're signing up for, what we're potentially signing up for. I'm thankful that my surgeon told me right back at the start, he said, surgery can always lead to more surgery.
Yep.
So knowing that off the bat is, I think, a really great starting point. If we're going down this route, then obviously there's a chance down the track that we might need something else. And for me, well, there was a heap of things. Like my gallbladder decided to shit itself when I was about 5.5 weeks post-gastric bypass. My surgeon was on holidays in Europe at the time. I hope he was having a great time. I was not having a great time. Gallbladder sucked. That was bad. And I've also gone on to have, some plastic surgeries, which were also quite challenging to recover from and all of that kind of thing as well. So surgery begets surgery, and there can be other side effects that can be unpleasant, and they can be permanent too. But there's also a lot of really amazing things that come from having a reduction in weight. And that's been definitely me grabbing my life by the balls and holding on and going, yep, here we go, we're going to do this, and having a lot more confidence, feeling a lot more comfortable in myself. So, yeah, I think that's probably...
Were they squishy?
Says it all. My life, when I grabbed it by the balls,
yeah,
it was definitely squishy to start with. It's a little bit more firm now.
Excellent.
Yeah, just thought I'd have that put in there.
Number 3. Your mind needs as much support as your body.
Yes.
And sometimes more.
I think so. I think that probably the mind needs more support than the body does, particularly in the first 12 months. And this is the third thing that we're just going to talk about real quick in this coffee chat, is the fact that honestly, the mental aspect of the bariatric metabolic journey, I think, is far more challenging than the physical reduction in weight.
Yeah.
I found the mental aspect of all of that such a head fuck, and there really isn't another way to describe it.
Well, I mean, for me, I realised, after I'd had surgery, that my mental health actually played a rather large role in getting me to where I was physically.
Yeah.
And that doesn't get fixed with surgery.
Yeah, 100%. It's so true, Damo. So how we do life, the way that we cope, the way that we manage stress, manage anxiety, the way that we sort of exist within our dynamics, like within our work situations, within our families, all of those things all play a role for me. And I found that I really needed to learn new keys and strategies. So my big suggestion to anybody that's considering having gastric bypass is to hook in with mental health supports, with a psychologist and a great team prior to having the surgery. Set yourself up to succeed and to do really, really well. Usually, like not always, and obviously I'm not a doctor, but I know for me that gastric bypass was recommended because my BMI was so high and because of other pre-existing medical conditions that I had. So I was going into what's considered to be, like quite a full-on surgery. And I didn't scaffold myself in terms of my mental health support like I did with having a great team around me and a great dietitian. I definitely regretted that as time went on, and I did get those supports in place, but there was a period of suffering, and I really wish that I'd done it much, much sooner.
Yeah.
So yeah, the takeaway is, if you're considering gastric bypass, I would strongly urge you to also consider getting that mental health support for yourself. Just understand and know that there's a range of side effects that may or may not happen to you, and to know all about all of that. It's not something to be scared of, and I certainly don't say it to try to frighten anybody away, but we do need to be aware. So ask your team, what am I looking at here? What are the possibilities here? And remembering also, number 3, it is a whole lifestyle change. It's not just about the surgery.
Thank you for joining us this week for our 10-minute coffee chat.
Yes, thanks, guys.
Hope you had a great session and got something out of it. And we will talk again next week.
See you later. Was that okay?